Net. Yes, I'm wearing the Cole Roofing hat, and I'm actually drinking out of the Cole Roofing mug. I'm actually like sucking up to my sponsors. It's amazing after all these years. Bill Cole from Cole Roofing, the other Bill Cole. We had your counterpart on from the city talking about saving the Preakness around here. I know you're Baltimore positive on that. You often get confused with him because every time I say, yeah, my pal Bill Cole, they think it's the other Bill Cole.
Yeah, it's always the other Bill Cole. Like whether it's
he
me
gets
or
you
him,
and you
it's
get
always
him.
the other, right? It's always the other Bill Cole. No, it's he's a great guy. The world does not collapse into some weird black hole when we're standing next to each other. So we've confirmed that, and I enjoy his company.
When it all falls apart, I want to be a William Cole myself. So, look, I'm wearing the hat, and I know you're really proud of this. It's been 100 years. It has 1919 right on your hat, right? And
yes,
so for us, this is a momentous summer here at NST, and I was a part of your celebration. I loved how you went around the room that night at the Museum of Industry and said, look, it's going to be too long. I'm promising you now. You want to sit down. You want to pee. You want to get a drink. You want to be fed because this will not be a short program.
Right. Well, and it totally underestimated. Like even when I made that statement, I didn't really realize how long it was going to take. So.
Well, and there's no dress rehearsal for it, right? So we've done all sorts of anniversaries around here, and this is why I want to talk to you about this, because I'm going to embarrass Don Moeller, and when he gets out of bed, he can laugh a little bit about this, because I'm surrounded by tapes, okay? So anybody that's watching out on Facebook Live or watching on YouTube Live, I have all of my history. This is about the fourth time in my adulthood that I have done this, right? Like when my wife got cancer, 5 years ago, and her transplant date's next week, the 26th. That will be 5 years that she had her life saved by Niels Domagala over in Germany. And I found all of these tapes, and I have little mini tapes with all my rock and roll stuff from back when, I was a music critic back at the Sun in the 1980s. And then I went to audio tape, so everything from the early part of my career. Here's one for you. This is the 1994 Ed Block Courage Awards, okay, from March the 8th, 1994. And on the show that night, and I can hold it up, we had Scott Mitchell, who was then the quarterback of the Detroit Lions, Bill Bates, who was finishing his career in Dallas, Paul Hornig, Curtis Duncan, who was a wide receiver for the Bears, Andre Waters. I found Steve Entman, who was a number 1 overall pick, and my friend Eric Turner, not Eric Turner the Raven, another guy named Eric Turner who went to Syracuse, who interned with me, was the host that night, and Wayne Fonts was also on the program. So I'm finding this stuff, right? And in my 21st anniversary, where the Orioles are 30 games under 500, might be leaving town. People are worn out from me talking about it. I might be running for mayor. All this stuff's going on, right? We're doing Baltimore Positive. We have Mayor Jack Young out this week. We have Nancy Grasmick next week. We're back in Catonsville. We're doing that over at Jennings Cafe. I'm going to get me a big burger, although Steve's trying to get me a crab cake. And then we're doing Ron Shapiro and Matt Gallagher at Fadley's on the 2nd of July. So we're doing all this cool retrospective stuff for the summer. 21st anniversary, and I thought to myself when I found the Frank Robinson tape. Remember me telling you about Frank back in January? Like, Frank died, and I didn't know that I had talked to Frank, and it turns out I did have Frank on the show, and I found the tape. So I've gone through all of these tapes, and I'm going to hold some of this stuff up, and my wife was going to take a picture amongst me and the cat in the boxes. When I was at Sporting News Radio, which was 1998, 99, 2000, and part of 01, I worked from White Marsh in my home over on Springhouse Circle. Hi to the Zink family, and to the McClures and to everybody else, the Sapaks and everybody there. These are my videotapes. So when the kids back in Chicago would tape my Monster Monday show or Super Bowl week or any of these things where Brett Favre used to come on the show, Bill Parcells was on every week, Pete Carroll was on every week, there's Rick Fox. So all of these shows are on videotape, audio tape, because they taped 6 hours, right? So you could take a tape when you worked in Chicago, you're my kid, stick it in, hit audio on it, and 6 hours later I would have the whole show because I had a 4-hour show. So if you forgot to flip the tape the hour that we had Charles Barkley on, I didn't get a tape of Charles Barkley. I can't find my chat with John Wooden. You think that makes me happy? After all these years.
Right.
So John Wooden called me on our birthday when he was 92 years old before he died, and we talked for 20 minutes, and I can't find the tape. This upsets me, right?
The good news of today's world is that nothing gets lost now. even the stuff that you wish would get.
Well, you're streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook, and unless you have my password, you can't get it down. So watch it. So here's the other neat stuff, right? So I'm going to hold some more stuff up here to show everybody some of the stuff that I'm going through, and then I'll tell you more. This is a tape of this is the regular night, I think. This was Buddy Ryan and Lawrence Taylor came out to the barn the same night we had Larry Webster and James Jones at the barn. So this was September the 29th, 1997. Lawrence Taylor and Buddy Ryan walked into the barn to do radio with me because I was doing a television show with them that day. So I have all of this cool stuff.
That was honeymoon period right there, like 97. Like,
the team was 4-12.
Oh, yeah, we were honeymooning. That was the heyday, buddy.
So here's my Art Modell at the barn tape. Here's Art Modell coming to the barn, 2 tapes in 2 hours. Some are Radio Shack tapes, some are Memorex, some are TDK. Like literally, all these tapes are laying around. But this is the neat part, right? And this is where I'm gonna embarrass Don Moeller and bring him in on this. Because I did anniversary shows every single year in January between the championship game and the Super Bowl. And around 96, we got the football team, and I started going to the Super Bowl every year. So Ravens players were still around in January, so Mike Frederick, Eric Zier, Larry Webster, different people would come out to the barn and visit. Greg Olson would come out when he was a deposed Oriole who still lived here, lived in Cockeysville. So, Tippy Martinez. But Don Moeller would come out every year for my anniversary. And my 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th anniversaries were all at the barn. They were all and they all involved the Ravens at that point, right? Because the Ravens came in 96. My 5th anniversary was in 1997, and it was in January of 97. And I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but I get so excited, and it bores my wife, quite frankly, because I run around and I do the underwear dance around the condo when I find something that I thought was... Dude, when I find the John Miller interview in my studio for 2 hours where he tells the truth about what Angelos did to him and he cries in my studio, when I find that tape that I can't find right now but I know it exists, I'm going to play it. But I can't find that. But Dave Winfield walked into the barn in January of 1997. It was the night before the Thompson Sports Banquet. Do you remember Thompson Sports Banquet? Every year, no. Pete Rose would come in or Reggie Jackson. Thompson Sports, what they would do is they would get the home run and RBI champions of the American and National League. They'd invite them in. And every January, Frank Slivka would pull his rope, and somehow George Brett would show up, somehow Carl Yastrzemski would show up, somehow Fred Lynn would show up, somehow Eddie Murray. You know what I mean? Like, right. Every year they had a Hall of Fame kind of player. And the thing was enormous. I mean, they did it at the Towson Center, dude. Some years there were 2,500 people there, right?
Wow.
No, this was a big, big deal. Frank Slivka and the Slivka family, they loved baseball. That's how Peter Angelos wound up out at the barn, was Frank Slivka. So that night in January 1997, it was just my 5th anniversary. It was an amazing night all the way around because I had made it 5 years on the radio, right? So, everybody is congratulating me. I can't believe you made it 5 years, right? So here's the tape, 5th anniversary. And I knew, and the tapes, because we worked that night, I was on live from 5 till 7 in that era. But that night, because it was my 5th anniversary, we had, I swear to you, 500 people at the barn that night. Anybody who was there will tell you, you couldn't park, you couldn't get near the place. And it was like 5 hours of radio. And the last thing that happened that night was Dave Winfield surprised me and everyone in the room. He had landed to go to Thompson Sports the next night, and Frank Slivka picked him up and brought him to the barn. And I happened to be doing a show. I happened to be doing my anniversary show, and Batman was playing he had come back from the beach. It was January. It was a big night with Batman. It was a Thursday night, as I remember it. And as I'm wrapping the show up, saying, hey, we got Hennessy, Mike Fountain, who was my best friend at the time, T-Bone Tom, who was one of my, Tom Marr's son, who's still a friend of mine. They were all up on the stage, and Dave Winfield just walks in. And what? So we had this moment. So I have all these tapes, and I had never heard it. And at about 10 o'clock on Tuesday night, I put the final tape in, and this says tape 3, and that would be the 5th or 6th hour if you have 45 minutes on both sides, right? The tape was on the 34th minute, and I said, I'm rolling to break, and I came back, and lo and behold, 22 years later, I found the magic moment when Dave Winfield walked into the barn and blew the doors off the place. We had pictures of all this stuff. And I found the tape, and the tape had like 6 minutes left on it, and I got the actual conversation. And you won't believe what I talked to him about. I said, Dave, I was at Tiger Stadium last year. You were in right field, and some guy jumped the fence, dropped his pants, and started circling you. And you had your glove up to your face. He's like, oh, I remember the cops had to tackle that guy. He was naked. So that was the story that I had with a Hall of Famer in 1997. And the Howard Stern and the Grease Man and me is proud of that, Bill Cole. And I know you're proud of sponsoring that.
Right. And I can't wait to hear it in July.
Well, so here's the neat part. So at the 5th anniversary, and this is where it comes full circle for my dear friend Don Moeller. Don Moeller every year would come out to my anniversary. Add to Joe Pazoric, Susan Monday, some of my teachers from Dundalk High who were proud of me, and I was 10 years out of high school or whatever. I'm on the radio. I'm having an anniversary show. Ordell Bracey's on one side of the room, Tippy Martinez, Greg Olson's over there. Wild Bill's got his hat on drinking beer in the back. I mean, it was a scene. You know what I mean? Sure. Scott Garceau's over there. There's Pete Kurtzel. Marty Bass is downstairs eating crabs. He's coming up. I mean, Dan Roderick's comes by. We got a cake. My mother's there. My kid's 12 years old. All that stuff's going on. So Don Moeller was always a part of those shows. And in 1996, we were headed to the Super Bowl that the Packers were in, Brett Favre, whatever one that was, like it was the New Orleans Super Bowl. And whenever Moeller would come out, I would pair him with whomever the legend was, because Moeller always had like a Jones to be a broadcaster. He and I were part of the Chris Ely competition, and I ribbed him to no end. Every time he came on, I would say to him, am I the Chris Thomas? Have I made you proud yet? This is stuff I was doing when I was 27 years old, right? So I'm 50 now. So finding these tapes and these conversations that I've never listened to. So in the 1996 anniversary, which was the year before we did the Dave Winfield thing, he came out. And he was sitting with John Miller, not broadcaster John Miller, but John Miller from the 1966 Orioles, the John with an H. So he interviews 66 Oriole John Miller about the 66 Orioles. Then the next year he comes out, and this is the really good one, the year that Winfield came out. He came out, and I sat him with Ordell Bracey, and I said to him, Don, this is my chance to go to the bathroom. I'm going to let you talk to Ordell. And I got up because I had no time to go to the bathroom then, right? Sure. Because I was 4 hours into a live show, and there were 500 people, and I couldn't even get to the bathroom. And I'm drinking beer. Obviously, it was Budweiser sponsored. And they don't give me money anymore, so fill me on Budweiser. If you see the guy from Mississippi, tell him I'm looking for him. And Don interviews Ordell Bracey on this tape. And so I'm going to play that as part of my Hall of Fame. Buddy Ryan also called in that night. Rasig sat down with his boys, who must have been, I don't know, like 12, 14 years old at that point, telling the story about how I became Nasty Nestor. And at the end, Dave Winfield walked in. So all on the same tape, Don Moeller and Dave Winfield were on the same stage 25 minutes apart back on January the 19th, 1997. And I found the tape, and I'm going to play it. So as Don Moeller becomes a bigger star here, talking to all the legends, including the mayor this week, I have some old-school Don Moeller talking to 66 Orioles and 58 and 59 Colts. So how about that? Can I get some applause for that, Cole?
Yeah, that's amazing, although it just makes me sort of think about the fact that that sort of thing just doesn't really happen anymore. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, my God, dude. When I did the Nice Guy Awards, and by the way, I have all of my tapes of the Nasty Nice Guy Awards. Vince Bagley was on stage the same night as Clem Florio down at Michael's 8th Avenue. Mike Bordick was there that night. The Thriller, Michael Jackson, who's left us, was there that night as well. I have all these pictures. Fang Mitchell was there that night. So I have Vince Bagley doing a 20-minute Dace speech on the importance of being nice. You think that's going to make a good Hall of Fame week around here? So, I found all of this stuff. But the Nice Guy Awards were my answer to the Tops in Sports. Because Tops in Sports was a baseball banquet, right? And Ed Block, and I have all of my Ed Block tapes. Here's my Ed Block from 2002 tape. Here, I found my Ed Block's conversation with Junior Seau. I had one night on Ed Block, back to back to back. I had 3 Hall of Famers sit down back to back to back and do my radio show. I'm trying to find the tape so I can hold it up because just the names on it are so impressive. But that night I had Bruce Matthews, Junior Seau, and Steve Atwater's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's going to be. And they sat down 3 at a time at Ed Block with me in a tuxedo, and I found the tape of it. So you're going to hear this stuff during July here as I celebrate 21 years, because you celebrated 100 years, and you had some pictures, right? And you had some mementos and stories about 2-ply roofs and different ply roofs and all that stuff. Dude, I've got these tapes. I've got these pictures. I don't have video of a lot, but I have things that can make this stuff come to life a little bit, and I found a reel-to-reel, and I'm not lying to you, dude. I'm going to hold the picture up. And because I have the world's greatest engineer and I don't give him enough love and brag on him enough, J.R. Richardson's been my engineer. He's the guy that found WNST for me. I'm going to hold this picture up for everybody. This is a reel-to-reel tape. It's the only one I have. I don't have a unit to play it. And if you look at it really close, and I hold it up on the camera, it's Charlie Ekman. It's a reel. It's 2 hours of Ekman doing something, and I'm not even sure what it is, but it's on a reel. And I said to JR, can you get this off a reel and digitize this? And the answer came back from my 70-year-old wizard engineer within 30 seconds, yes.
Right.
And if JR says he can save that tape, you're going to hear that tape next month. And Charlie died on the 4th of July. I mean, if I had 10 hours of Charlie, I would just shut the station down on the 4th of July and play Charlie. So I am paying homage to all things Colts, Orioles, Hall of Famers. You're going to hear Lenny Moore, Art Donovan. You're going to hear Brooks Robinson, Jim Palmer. You're going to hear Mike Messina. You're going to hear anybody who sat with me and was kind enough to give me their time. I found Hank Stram talking about matriculating the ball with me in Miami on day 3, January 29th, 1999, where the topic that day was the Ravens just hired this Brian Billick guy. Hank, how's this going to work out? And when Hank got up to leave, I asked him if I could wear his yellow jacket on South Beach. He said he would be asleep and I could borrow it that night.
I think it's fascinating, and if you are able to digitize it in a way where it can get cataloged too, like
how about the night that Bam Morris walked in with Ray Lewis at the barn? I have that one. That's pretty cool. Bama Ram is talking about how much he hated the Steelers, and then Ray walks in. I'm like, where's Ray? Ray's late. Somebody give Ray a call. And then Ray walks in. The place goes crazy. And we had beaten the Steelers.
I think I might have been there that night.
We beat the Steelers the day before in the rain. Do you remember that? Kicked their ass in December. Yeah. Cost them a home playoff game and got them knocked out of the playoffs. Love you, Bam Arama, even though I think you're in jail. I'm not sure. But Bam was a nice guy. So, yeah.
But you get that stuff cataloged, and, you share it with us this July, and then it can go into the anthems, and you can reference it and you can play it, and we can pull really smart tidbits from these guys. I mean, the whole speaker circuit of Hall of Famers or guys that took their sports careers and now they go public speaking about how to run a better business. I'm not a big proponent of that. Like, I'm not sure exactly how those two sort of work together, but there are wonderful pieces of wisdom that come out of these guys' experiences that they don't necessarily intend, but through determination or hard work,
teamwork, leadership,
like all that kind of stuff.
Courage.
There's great stuff. I guarantee you'll find through all that. So that's really exciting.
So here's a tape
shared history that we get to enjoy.
We did in 2008. We did in October of 2008. The Ravens must have Harbaugh was just here, but it didn't matter. It was the 25th anniversary of the 83 championship, right? So that day, literally on that day, we lined up everybody who was alive that was willing to do it, which means Palmer didn't call in. Boddicker, Renicky, Ford, Williams, Altobelli, Tippy, Dower, Bumbry. There it is. So that's one, that's just all one place, And I've got just droves of this stuff lying around. I mean, and I'm finding it all. Derek Brooks, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl 40. There you go there. Rod Woodson also spent 20 minutes with me that day. Oh, and Governor Schaefer called in that day too. So, I have all of this stuff on these tapes. So Cal Ripken. Here's 2 hours with Cal Ripken. I'm going to play that from 2005. I think that's when the Iron Birds began. So, anyway, and it's all Ray Bachman's writing on all this stuff. So I'm promoting that. If you hear the liners, if you hear any of that stuff, we're going to have Mayor Jack Young on. So this is where we get to the Baltimore Positive part of the programming. Bill Cole is here, Cole Roofing, and, of course, Gordian Energy. Plug your place, and then we're going to talk about the mayor a little bit, dude.
Sure. 100 years commercial roofing. So everything from, leak repairs, which I know you like when I say that.
We take leaks seriously, Cole Roofing.
Right. All the way up to new construction and re-roofing of shopping centers, hospitals, schools, commercial buildings of any size. We also like to help explain what the opportunity solar presents to use that roof space for something other than just an umbrella for your building. So creating a small power plant and reducing your electricity bill is totally within your grasp.
All right, so I've learned this. I used to call Mayor Young Jack. I'm going to call him Mr. Mayor because that's the right way to do things. And we're going to be with him at Fadley's this week. And, of course, look, the boxing thing, I'm going to have to talk to him about this, right? The crime thing, I'm going to have to talk to him about this. Squeegee thing, I've talked to him about this. The pothole thing is an interesting thing because as I go through Governor Schaefer's, record and hear his voice and the conversations, and I probably had Governor Schaefer on 5 or 6 times, and you'll hear some of that during the Hall of Fame month as well. He's a personal Hall of Famer of mine. The things that are important, everything's important, I guess, when you're the mayor, right? And everything comes into your ears, and obviously with our other mayor in handcuffs and the FBI involved and all that stuff, we're just trying to get the city stabilized and get carjackings to stop in front of my building, which happened again last week, and my wife heard a gunshot and didn't like it.
You want me to respond to carjacking?
No, I want you to say, what am I supposed to say to the mayor? If you could sit with the mayor, what are you saying to the mayor if you get an hour with the mayor? I got an hour. You want to come down and talk to the mayor? Come on down to Fadley's. We'll talk to the mayor tomorrow. But I'm wondering, what, not just for this mayor, but whomever the next mayor is going to be, because we're going to be up on that pulpit the next 15 months, and I might be one of them, and we're going to be saying things about how we're going to fix it. Here's the guy with the job, right?
Sure.
And he's had the job all of 6 weeks under duress. I'm not expecting miracle work out of him or Gerald Ford or anybody else who takes over anything in the middle of anything, right? It's a difficult assignment in that way.
So the unique perspective that he has is how is the job of city council president different than the job of mayor, right? And I believe they are, and I believe there's some unique differences. But he would have a very specific, unique perspective on the differences. And that might not be the easiest question to answer because he might say, well, I don't know, Ness, let me, give me a little while and then I'll be able to figure it out because it's a little fresh. I don't doubt his optimism. He's a cheerleader. He's a passionate guy about our city. I would try to give him the pass of he really wasn't prepared to be the mayor because he wasn't supposed to be the mayor. So asking him what he wants to achieve and how he's going to lead the city better as the mayor, well, I don't know if that's a fair question, other than I don't know how different that is when you prepare to be city council, president of city council. Isn't that sort of similar? And aren't you, working in the same direction and getting everybody kind of rowing towards the same objective? So to me, it's okay, you've got a short stint here. What's your objective in the short term? I realize you don't have a full term to try and tackle some of the challenges, but
he's in a neat position, and this is just me speaking politically, of he should give zero concerns about anything and anybody's feelings other than making it better. At some point, because he doesn't have to get elected again, allegedly, right? He's not, if all you have is 15 months to say, like Don Moeller had 7 months, and Don famously says, there were a lot of people who wanted Kevin to do a lot of things that when I sat in the chair, I said no. I don't believe in that. I'm not doing that. That's a much different thing if you're trying to get reelected or you're running or you're campaigning or you're trying to get money than just saying I have no dog in the hunt other than to do the right thing because I'm not seeking this job. So therefore, I can do this job unencumbered, which is a very unique thing in politics, I think, right?
Well, yes, I would totally agree, although I don't know that post this short mayor stint that his career is over. So maybe it's not career as a mayor as is being explained, but his career isn't over. So I don't know that he has the same freedom that, say, Hogan has, other than I'm not sure Hogan's career is over either. So you might think that, they can make whatever decisions they want, but they still have things they're worried about.
If you can make the city this much better for everybody, you will be popular, even if you're unpopular in whatever segment you're unpopular in.
Right.
I mean, we turn this into a popularity contest instead of literally can we get it done, a competency contest. You know what I mean? It's not about popularity. It's about this would be a great chance to deal with the homeless squeegee crime issues around and not care who you're offending. Offend the criminals. Let's do that. Let's offend the people that are the criminals. Let's take the law-abiding citizens. This would be a great time to do that. I think being a law-abiding citizen.
I would wonder, when you talk to people who really understand that, how long that sort of thing takes and how many different programs and initiatives you have to get rolling before you start seeing impact. The simplest thing that I would offer is, hey man, you're already a really positive guy. Let's just put you on TV every single day saying something good about the city. Let's just change the narrative. Let's get people talking about our city in a better way so that we can hope to compete with the negative news that everyone wants to put in front of us all the time.
It is amazing, dude. My wife and I live here, and yes, bad things happen, and I'm sure bad things happen within 3 blocks of where I was in New York. I mean, I'm in New York, and I see sirens going by. Something bad happened, right? I walked through the city 4 days in a row last week when it was beautiful. And my wife has made me just get out. Like we walked to Harbor View with Sean Landetta. We walked back through the city and wound up walking to Pier 6. And then we walked to Harbor East. And then we walked to Little Italy. And then we stopped at Eckaban. And then we went to Amici's. And then we wound up over at Ruth's Chris. And then we're at Sopanos the other night. Like, we do nothing but walk through this city, even when we're not in the mood. Friends of ours gave me tickets to see Slightly Stupid, who I'd never seen, never heard much for. Had the greatest time at Pier 6 last week, and we did it on a whim at 8:20 at night as the sun was setting, and think nothing of it. Nothing bad has ever happened to me living in downtown for 16 years. Maybe that's a better message, man. You know what I mean? And it's not like
Totally.
I don't get out, dude. I don't live in a little silo here. I get out and about. I walk to yoga 4 days a week,
A friend of mine just had his daughter's wedding downtown a month or so ago, and a lot of out-of-town people, right? So the original mother and fathers, their families aren't originally from Baltimore.
Everybody wore a flak jacket, right? Brought a mask like that, yeah.
No, right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people were blown away at how beautiful the city is. And that is a consistent message with every guy I drag up here from Northern Virginia and D.C. that says to me, I haven't been up here in 20 years. This is great. This looks awesome. It sure is different than I thought. I mean, that's a consistent message with every person that we bring here. We brought a bunch of people in last October to learn about Port Covington and all the cool stuff that's going on down there. And these guys were from Detroit and Chicago and Austin, and they were all just, man, there's a lot of really good stuff going on. Now, listen, some of them I took through some of our harder neighborhoods because, in my opinion, you have to see the good and the bad to really understand what's going on here. But they were still, in the certain places and in the places as you go around. And it's a beautiful city. We have so many good things to enjoy. People just don't know and they don't remember.
Well, look, we got the mayor. I've had a huge list here. I've been writing ever since you started talking. So you have helped me immensely and given me a little bit of therapy on the anniversary month-long celebration of nothing but Hall of Famers. How's that sound, Bill? Nothing but Hall of Famers the entire month of July to celebrate 21 years here at W. I mean, it's not quite 100 years, but it's the best I can do at 21, is to go through all of these audio tapes, videotapes. I still got a bunch of little mini discs here. The day that Dave McNally died, we heard from Bobby Grich, Earl Weaver. Look at this. Phil Jackman, Jim Caravellis. I mean, maybe Palmer. Palmer didn't call that day. Palmer never calls. So that's why I put him first on the bumper so he'd hear about it while he's selling his. Maybe I'll help him market his place a little bit. Jim, I love you. You're a Hall of Famer. I've been here 28 years. You should do my show. How about that? Is that good?
A lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
It pisses me off about Palmer because he's even like the greatest athlete in history of Baltimore sport. I've said that a million times. You've honored him as such. The fact that he doesn't return my phone calls, this angers me. Cakes. You're on the wall at NST. You know that, Bill. We have a picture of him on the wall eating pancakes. We've honored James Alvin Palmer around here.
Yeah, I don't totally get that, but
I honored him on the wiffle ball diamond every time I went, over the top.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, tell me about Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy, but stick to the solar. I love when you go James Bond on me, Billy.
Yeah, so we're doing really great roofs so that we can use that as a platform to build solar. About a month or so ago, Maryland passed another bill to help support the solar industry in the state of Maryland, so we're really excited that we're going to see the economics of those projects get even more attractive. They were already good enough to do, and they're just getting better now. It really is just an opportunity. I think you commented one time when we were telling the story about individual freedom, and it really is. It's like, what's the old saying? All you have to do is live, die, and pay your taxes, and it's like also pay the utility bill. This is an opportunity in our world today to cut that tie, be able to generate your own electricity, use it as you see fit, and not have to worry about, whether BGE goes to the PSC and asks for another penny to increase the distribution because they're not really taking care of the utility poles or anything like that. So, we love it. It certainly makes the conversation about rooftops more interesting, and we think we're providing people an opportunity to really change the dynamics of their building, their facility, their business, and that makes it a lot of fun for us.
It's funny, man. That's the first time in my life I heard the word solar was at the Highway Theater in Essex, down in Middle River, when I went and saw James Bond and Man with the Golden Gun, the solar reactor and all that stuff. So every time you say that, I think of James Bond on Phuket, hanging out with Maude Adams, you know what I mean? Like Britt Eklund. Good times.
I grew up loving James Bond, so, you're not hurting my feelings at all if you tell me I'm like one step closer to being James Bond.
You know what? I got Dick Cass coming on doing Baltimore Positive later on in the summer, the president of the Ravens. And every time I see Dick Cass, I think he looks like Christopher Lee, who played the bad guy, who played Scaramanga. You remember?
Sure.
Do you know? Yeah. I mean, like literally.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Christopher Lee and Dick Cass are very similar looking men. I don't know what else to say, man. Like, and I
like Dick Cass.
And when I have Dick on, I'm going to find a really good picture of Christopher Lee, maybe in the late '60s, early '70s, where he really looked a lot. Because there's a lot of older pictures of Christopher Lee where he looks like an older version of Dick Cass. But but Christopher Lee as Scaramanga and the Man with the Golden Gun would look like Dick Cass. And if you see Dick, tell him I said so.
I like Dick a lot. I've had the opportunity to talk to him before, and he's a pretty refreshing guy. If you can get him where he can actually talk a little bit, I think we're. Hey,
can I brag on the Ravens for a minute here? Because I've talked about relinquishing my PSLs, and that's not I'm giving up my tickets. I have other PSLs. I have two I have to get rid of, my original ones that I can't give. So I'm in the word is not forfeit, surrender, squander. I don't. Whatever the word is.
Abandon.
No, there's a word. There's an official, legal term that you're not relinquished, abandoned, squandered, surrendered. I don't know what the word is. But anyway, so I finally won the PSL lottery last week to go to training camp for the day, and I I gave them to Jen Dempsey, who's a cancer survivor from Harford County. She's had leukemia, so her and her friend Steve came out. She had a lovely day. She met the coach. It was awesome. We had fun. It was more fun taking her out than it would have been going alone. So I took her out, and she had a beautiful day, ate some chicken. But at the end, there's a picnic thing, and Dick Cass comes out every day and greets the PSL holders and does a 30-minute question and answer. He does a 2-minute, here's where we are, here's where the team are, we're adding elevator or escalators, questions. And it was like one of the most impressive things that I've seen anybody. I mean, I was tweeting about it when it was happening, and I'm like, he does this for every one of them, not just impressed like the guy from NST. So I said it was impressive because it was impressive because you know what? I've seen the Orioles work over the last 30 years.
Yeah, I mean that was the type of scenario that I was with when where I got to talk to him, and I think it's access that doesn't otherwise exist, and he's a very seems very honest, straightforward guy, and if he doesn't want to give you the answer to the question that you ask,
he'll say I can't answer that. No. He's like I can't tell you that. I mean, like I've known Dick for 50. I love Dick Cass, and he's coming out. I mean, obviously, he was a huge part of our Gen Strong movement, and it gave a kidney to save someone's life. So, pretty special human being. So we'll have him out. And the only reason I brought him up is because you said the word solar. As in solar, so maybe think of Christopher Lee and Scaramanga. So there's my plug for the Ravens.
Have you talked at all about your post related to 9/11 and all that?
Can we do that next week? I'd love to do that. Do you want to do that?
I was
John
unaware of that story. That's pretty remarkable.
I haven't told that story on the air because my wife and I learned about this last September and did not want to in any way. I don't know. We didn't want to talk about it. I get it. We didn't want to talk about it. Like
I get it.
I was not trying to wrap the flag around my wife and portray her as anything else than a beautiful girl up in New Hampshire who got a call from her company and said we're taking volunteers to go down to the World Trade Center to put communications together. My wife didn't have a husband, didn't have kids. Everybody else did, and she said, I'll go. And 3 days later, she's in New York, and 13 years later, she had leukemia twice. And so did everybody who was there, by the way, which we learned last September and October. So we learned about this 6 months ago, and after all my wife's been through, I didn't really feel like, calling her a first responder or an American hero, even if she is.
It's a tough one. I get it. It makes you pause, and I don't know.
What makes me pause is she almost died twice, and I would have never have known. And there's this big pot of money that was there to help her insurance and to help her pain, and that if she would have died, her sister would have gotten some of it. Like all of that, right? And
the continuation for a person who answers the call, right, to do what they can to help, and then later on,
a guy like Mitch McConnell acts like a dick.
Well, yeah, and you're asking these people to once again fight a battle.
Who are these people we have picked to?
Well, yeah.
I mean, Mayor Jack Young's coming out. He's elected, and we're going to sit and talk to him. But who are these people that we elect to run the country who sit in front of patriots and say, I don't understand why their panties are in a bunch? Because they can't breathe, you idiot.
Right. Well, and I mean,
or because their husband's dead or their wife's dead.
Right.
It's
the
it's
way I
inconceivable.
look at it is you're asking these same people who answered that call to once again raise their hand and say, "Hey,
I'm still here.
There's something going on here that is consistent. We don't understand the science. We don't really know what's going on. But hey, look, this is awfully peculiar that all these people are having this similar issue. Can someone please help us?"
Watching my wife chained to a bed, weigh 80 pounds, bald 2 different times, and almost die and roll into comas, because she went down to 9/11 and helped the country get healed, and Mitch effing McConnell's going to turn his back on my wife and 30,000 other people? It's disgraceful.
I don't understand what political scenario, right. I don't understand what political scenario, even if I just take those people as professional politicians, what is the scenario?
What side are you on?
The best thing for you is to not want to figure this out, to not want to help those people, and at the same time figure out why this is going on so that we can prevent it in the future. I mean, isn't that the goal of sort of the human race? I mean, give me a break.
Dude, love you. We'll get back after it next week. Cole Roofing. We went everywhere on this one, didn't we? I mean, it started with anniversaries.
It was good. I appreciate you always, man.
Oh, I feel cleansed. There it is. Bill Cole, Cole Roofing, and Gordian Energy. I guess I feel cleansed because I'm drinking Royal Farms out of the Cole Roofing mug. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. Also, Baltimore. Who's more Baltimore positive than Royal Farms? They're everywhere around town. We are Baltimore Positive. We're going to be at Jennings Cafe on the 27th with Nancy Grasmick having lunch, crab cakes. I'm having a burger. Don't tell Steve, but I might be in the mood for a burger and some fries next week as well. We'll also be in Catonsville for the 4th of July parade. Don Moeller's making sure he's the unofficial ambassador to all things Catonsville. We're back at Fadley's on the 2nd of July doing Baltimore Positive. Matt Gallagher from Goalsecker, as well as Ron Shapiro. Whew. Talk about a holiday-spirited crab cake afternoon. That's going to be a good one. Come join us on the 2nd of July down at Fadley's in Lexington Market. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. We've gone overtime, as they would say. But we got a big month ahead. 21 years of celebrating WNST with nothing but Hall of Fame conversations. It's going to be a good one around here. Stay with us.